Hey guys, let us get more news about Steelers, but before that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Omar Khan didn't anticipate being able to acquire both Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. The Steelers have made wholesale changes to their quarterback's room by signing Russell Wilson and trading for Justin Fields. Each player seemed to make sense for Pittsburgh as the calendar turned to March. But General Manager Omar Khan said during the annual league meeting this week that he didn't anticipate acquiring both. "I'm excited about both of those players," Khan said, via Dale Lally of the team's website. "They're both really good quarterbacks. If you would have told me a month ago in Indy that we'd be here and Russell Wilson and Justin Fields would be our quarterbacks, I'd say, I'd be a little bit surprised." Head coach Mike Tomlin has said that Wilson is in pole position to be Pittsburgh's starting quarterback when the season begins. Getting to that point began with the time Wilson spent with the organization after Denver gave him the go-ahead to speak with potential suitors. Once the announcement was made that he was going to be released and Russell and his agent had permission to talk to other clubs, "We had a conversation and Russ came in and met with us," Khan said. "We had a great day, felt good about it. He'll probably tell you the same thing, it was a match for both of us. We made it work. When both sides meet, money aside, it's got to be a fit. It made sense for both of us." Wilson finished last season having completed 66.4% of his passes for 3,070 yards with 26 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in 15 games. He rushed for 341 yards with 3 TDs. As for Fields, he completed 61.4% of his passes for 2,562 yards with 16 touchdowns and 9 picks in 13 games. He rushed for 657 yards with 4 TDs in 2023. Pittsburgh Public Theater's Importance of Being Earnest is a timeless comedy with a fresh adaptation. As spring comes to Pittsburgh, love and laughter is in the air with Pittsburgh Public Theater's production of Oscar Wilde's classic play, The Importance of Being Earnest. The play, newly adapted and directed by Ginny Coons, and in collaboration with Baltimore Center Stage, premiered Wednesday night at the O'Reilly Theater in downtown Pittsburgh and runs through April 14. The Importance of Being Earnest was first performed in 1895 at St. James's Theatre in London, England. It is perhaps the most beloved of Oscar Wilde's plays, and it has been revived on stage and adapted to the screen many times. There is a good reason why this particular play keeps audiences coming back for more. While it may be set in Victorian times, the humor and heart endure. Without giving away too many of the hilarious twists and turns of the plot, the story centers around two aristocratic young men, Jack, Paul Deo Jr., and Algernon, Dylan Marquis Myers. They both lead secretive lives, but when they fall in love with a pair of ladies, their secrets cause some serious complications. What comes next is a series of events that wouldn't feel out of place in a modern sitcom, but with the airs of high society. Earnest was written as satire of Victorian aristocracy and etiquette, meant to lampoon the hypocrisy of the era. As a product of its time, it delights lovers of period pieces and comedy fans alike. The language may sound snobby, but the jokes come one after another, especially thanks to the cast's easy and quick delivery. There is something about watching two men stand in the garden of an English country house at tea time arguing about muffins that will always get an audience roaring with laughter, but Deo Jr. and Myers had a sparkling comedic chemistry that adds something extra. Even in scenes with their respective love interests, Gwendolyn, Veronica Del Cerro, and Cecily, Alex Manalo, the male leads charmed while stumbling over their secrets. The sophisticated Gwendolyn, who is Algernon's cousin and Jack's love interest, was played by Del Cerro with a confidence that heightened her character's often absurd assertions. Manalo's Cecily, Jack's ward and Algernon's love interest, was fanciful and strong-willed. The scenes that the pair shared were some of the funniest in the show. The standout of the cast was David Ryan Smith as Lady Bracknell, Gwendolyn's mother and Algernon's aunt. the embodiment of Victorian manners and morals, Lady Bracknell is a booming presence in every room she occupies, and Smith played her so perfectly that he was granted applause from the audience upon exiting his first scene. Completing the cast were Susan M. Linsky as Miss Prism, Cecily's governess, and Joseph McGranaghan, in the roles of Lane, Merriman and the Reverend Chasuble. Both gave excellent performances, with Linsky especially elevating a climactic moment that shouldn't be spoiled. McGranaghan possesses a quick and dry wit that added an extra spice to his scenes. This production of Ernest was adapted and directed by Ginny Coons, and the 130-year-old words blossom on stage with a new life thanks to her fresh take on the classic. The rest of the talented creative team sets the scene for the leisurely luxury of Victorian teas, with the guidance of set designer Jason Ardizzone West and lighting designer Anne-Marie Duggan. Costume designer Hugh Hansen worked magic with dashing suits and corseted dresses that fit the period perfectly. Don't be scared off by the stuffy-seeming surface of The Importance of Being Earnest. Even after more than a century, and with a new adaptation, it remains uproariously funny, and even, in the end, a little bit earnest. Steelers open to reuniting with 8-time Pro Bowler. The Steelers roster has already seen a ton of turnover in what has been yet another active offseason under general manager Omar Khan. There is one player who Pittsburgh recently released, however, that could make his return to the Steel City. Per Steelers.com's Dale Lally, head coach Mike Tomlin said the team remains open to bringing back 8-time Pro Bowl cornerback Patrick Peterson, who was released at the beginning of March, but added it would come down the road. Pittsburgh saved $7 million in salary cap space by moving on from the 33-year-old this offseason, but bringing him back for a much lower price makes sense. The Steelers traded for former Panthers cornerback Dante Jackson this offseason, but there isn't much depth outside of him in cornerback Joey Porter Jr., the number 32 overall pick in 2023. Although not the player he used to be, Peterson could provide some much-needed depth for Pittsburgh. The 13-year veteran finished the 2023 season with 42 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 11 passes defensed while showing his versatility by playing as an outside corner, slot corner, and safety. Still, opposing teams knew Peterson lost a step as they regularly targeted him, and it worked out for them most of the time. He believes he still has some good football left to help the Steelers compete for a Super Bowl next season. I can be your second and third corner and your nickel for sure because we don't have a nickel on the roster. I know the defense, I understand what we need to do, Peterson said on his All Things Covered podcast. It is not about the money at this point. I just want to have an opportunity to win a championship. Of course, if Pittsburgh adds another corner in free agency or the 2024 NFL Draft, it'll be unlikely that Peterson will return, but if not, he may just get his wish. And you, fan, what do you think about the situation of Patrick Peterson? Leave your opinion in the comments.